Let's take a look at employment test score cutoff levels. For tests to be used in selection decisions, they must be scored in some fashion, even if only pass-fail. Typically, cutoff scores are established for tests so that scores below the cutoff are deemed failing and disqualify candidates from further consideration. If the employer cares about the degree of the test for characteristic possessed, test takers with passing scores can be ranked and candidates with the highest scores can be chosen. One consideration in treating test scores is that employers must not adjust their scores of, use different cutoff scores for, or otherwise alter the results of employment-related tests on the basis of race, color, religion, sex, or national origin. This prohibition of what has been termed race norming, although not specific to race, means that employers cannot establish separate minimum standards based on protected class or obscure the existence of different standards by altering scores. Clearly, the results of a test are affected by what the employer determines to be a passing score. If a test is job related, are there legal limitations on how high employers can set the bar in terms of cutoff scores? As a basic principle, the EEOC maintains that when cutoffs are used, they should be reasonable and consistent with normal expectations of acceptable proficiency. Some courts go further and require that if a test score creates disparate impact, cutoffs must be set so that they require no more of the tested for trait than the minimum needed to successfully perform the job. Requirements in excess of this level would be a business necessity. However, this does not mean that an employer must set a cutoff at a level at which an individual who scores below it would be able to perform the job. That is, an employer can set a cutoff at a level where there's much higher probability that persons who pass the test will also succeed in the job. However, requirements for one job must not be set unduly high based on the idea that persons hired will then be qualified to move on to other jobs. The banding of test scores can diminish the discriminatory effects of tests without unduly compromising the principle of selecting the most able candidates. In banding, test scores are treated as estimates of tested for characteristics. Because estimates contain errors from various sources, test scores are treated differently from one another only if the gap between them is sufficiently wide that the different scores are likely to reflect real differences in characteristics. Courts have upheld the practice of banding test scores, although the method used for banding should be established before the test is administered.